working to assist military spouses. I'm Jill Horner. This is Comcast Newsmakers. With me is Delaware State Representative Darrell Scott. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me today.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the challenges that military families can face. Oftentimes, they're asked to move many times during a military career. Talk to us about what that experience can be like.
Well, as a military brat, my father was in the Air Force for 27 years. We moved a number of times. And so just the move itself is very stressful. And in today's society, both members of the household, father and mother, both work. So that transition adds an additional level of stress because now you've got licensing requirements that the spouse will have to undergo as they enter a new state. So the bill is intended to streamline and provide provisional licenses to help them begin that job search and get jobs much quicker.
So let's focus on what these licenses may actually include. Licensing can vary state by state. And when we talk about a professional license, this can be for a profession like hairdressing. It can be for a profession like a medical profession as well.
It could be nursing, dental hygienist, and a tattoo artist. I mean, the list goes on and on. So just about any profession you can think of will have some licensing requirement. So as they come into the state, before they can begin looking for employment, they have to have a license. So what we're really trying to do is make sure that we give them a provisional license to allow them to begin looking, gain employment while the licensing process is completed. Now there are some requirements. They have to have a license in good standing with no outstanding complaints. And if they have that, we'll provide this provisional license.
So let's focus on how this would actually work. You mentioned that there are requirements in place, a license in good standing in another state, no complaints against them. But would this be for all different professions that require a professional license?
It is. I mean, there's so for any profession that requires it, there is this requirement. So the Department of Professional Regulation will have a process in place. They'll reach out to them, they'll validate and have to sign that they have a license in good standing. They'll provide a provisional license, and then the licensing process will begin in earnest. But again, the spouse can begin working or looking for employment and begin working while that process is undertaken. And in some cases, it can take up to 6 months to complete. So we're talking about truly allowing military spouses an opportunity to come in, begin working very quickly, supporting their family, and becoming a part of the community.
Was this something that you were actually hearing from military families, that they were coming into Delaware because they were reassigned by the United States, one of the branches of the military, and their spouse couldn't get employment because of waiting for a new license?
Well, it came out a couple ways. One, in talking to veterans groups and the Military Officers Association, they raised the issue as a concern. I ran into constituents that were just moving in that weren't part of the military that were having to undergo the licensing process. And putting the two together, we realized that there may be an issue for military spouses. And Dover has been such a great supporter of the military base, and again, my experience of moving and understanding the stresses associated with that, wanted to do something to make sure that the transition into Dover was and in Delaware was as easy as possible.
What about for those who may have a lapsed license? Would this apply to them as well?
It would if they were licensed in Delaware and it had lapsed in the last 2 years, so they lived in Delaware and moved away. If it's within the last 2 years, we'll streamline the process for reinstating that license as well. Understanding that some people are deployed, they move away, their license will lapse while they're away, and again, recognizing that many of them want to come back to Delaware, we want to make sure that we've made that process as efficient as possible as well.
And where does this actually stand at this point? Have you introduced this bill?
I have introduced the bill. It'll be worked in committee and then brought to the House floor. I think I've got good support in the House and Senate, and look for its passage this year.
Why was it so important to have this bill particularly related or specifically related to military spouses, military families?
One is my personal experience, and then again, the military is an important part of our state's economy, and so there's the personal, there's the state, desire to put forth that message that we value their participation in our community, and we want to make it as easy as possible for them to transition in.
Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you very much.
We've been talking with Delaware State Representative Darrell Scott. I'm Jill Horner.